How's it going, everyone? I'm not going to do an intro, can't be asked. Sancho, we're going to chat about Sancho. We're going to talk about sponsorship. We're going to chat about Maguire. We're going to talk about Mike Keegan takeover news. A few other little bits as well. How we doing, lads?
All good.
Yeah, doing perfectly fine. Very excited to get into
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, we was all just discussing how we're all in different parts of the planet, aren't we, at the minute?
Yeah.
Trivia in an unknown location in Ten Hag's backyard.
Yeah.
You've got Shreyas, of course, in the Delhi. Is it Delhi? There's
Yeah,
Delhi,
you
innit?
can call it Delhi.
I can call it Delhi. Why is
Yeah.
it not? Is it the BTEC Delhi?
What's
or is it...
New Delhi?
It's near to it, like 30 minutes away
Okay.
from Delhi.
So that's the
So
equivalent
basically,
to...
he's in Warrington, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar to that. Yeah, it's not quite Liverpool or Manchester, it's Warrington. Anyway, hello to everyone else as well. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're in a different, I was going to say different planet then. That's all that alien talk off the camera that's coming filtering through my head. Yeah, let us know where you're watching from. Throw us some interesting questions in the chat as we go through the topics on the table. As you can already see, we've got Civir back on the show and Shreyas alongside me to pick the bones of these articles that have come out. I think the first one we got to hit straight off the bat, lads, is the Jadon Sancho one, because there's a lot of interesting things coming out from that. So I'm just going to read the first couple of standout quotes from that, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. So the first two that I saw that stood out to me: questions have been raised about the level of pastoral care offered by United after Jadon Sancho made the move back to the UK, and a sense that perhaps the club misjudged how mature he was because he had gone to Germany at such a young age. One source close to Borussia Dortmund noted that although Jadon was mentally tough on the pitch, he could be quite childish and unprofessional with little things. Occasionally missing team meetings, oversleeping, were viewed as problematic, and he had issues with timekeeping as well. What were your thoughts, Chivit? Because obviously there's been a bit of back and forth between Sancho online. He's finally took that tweet down, and that's why we call it the U-turn, if you will. But what are your thoughts about this extra stuff that's coming out? Is it needed? Just your overall thoughts on it.
Well, this is what happens when the press doesn't like you, basically. They started, I guarantee you that every single player, they can dig up, you can make statements, you can make sentences like this about every single player. Like, questions has been raised, like who's asking those questions? It says questions have been raised, like from where? Do you understand? So once you fall out with the media or with certain parts of the media, they'll start writing unnecessary stuff like this, like it's not needed. Absolutely not. Like everyone can have stuff like this written about them, and it's just what they do to just feel some sort of hate or just get some kind of narrative. Now, I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's not guilty of some of these things. Yes, he probably has a problem coming late, but so do 500,000 other footballers. Like it's not a new thing. If someone has a problem with keeping to time, Anderson was worse. Like you don't realize.
Yeah.
Anderson, Tevez. It's not the first time we're seeing this. We've seen this with so many players before, but because it fits a certain narrative with Jadon Sancho, it's one of those things that people would like to milk, and I'm not falling for it. And I'm not just blindly following him, but it's unnecessary. We don't need this. He was supposed to have a chat with the manager, and now he's taking out that tweet. So if he did have the chat, then it makes me think that, right, he's back on track. People fall out and come back again. Roberto Mancini had a massive fallout with Balotelli, but they still made up again. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it happens all the time. So I don't see, it's a non-issue, but then, nowadays when journalists need, when tweets need engagement and stuff like that, it's one of the reasons why things like this will come out just to fuel that thing. So there's so many things involved, but I think it's a non-issue, and I think we should, fans nowadays should be smarter and not just fall for any single, story, hook, line, and sinker.
I suppose Shreyas, the price tag and wages, and I know people say that shouldn't matter, but that's something that's obviously going to be brought into it. The fact he's on 350 grand a week and he was bought for 75 million, which isn't his fault by any stretch of the imagination. I get that, but just in terms of scouting alone, is this another example how you need to do a bit of digging on a certain player, disciplinary things and stuff like that? Because there has been issues in the past, like at Dortmund, it was back and forth, as it mentions in the article there, but there's back and forth between managers and saying he felt like a scapegoat there as well. Is it blurred lines here? Is it both the club side, do you think, and Sancho, or where do you lean on this?
I think first off, when you're buying the players or the profile of Jadon Sancho with the big one of the biggest contracts at Manchester United, a very very big money fee as well involved while actually get him to come to Manchester United, you need to do your homework. You need to do your background checks about the player as to how he conducts himself in the training, on the pitch, off the pitch. If is he able to maintain good relationships with the players that is surrounded with, how well is he able to interact with the fans, how well is he able to take criticism and actually act upon it. So it all actually factors it into it. And I think when it comes to the Jadon Sancho situation, I think right now everything is just pushing or everybody just knows that the manager and Jadon Sancho are not in a good place and they've just had talks. But whatever happened during those conversations, whether it was it ended in a good way or a bad way, is something that no one knows. They're just pushing out their own ideology about it not ending in a good way or it not ending in a bad way. And the reason why we are hearing so many things about it not going in the direction of a positive way for Sancho or Ten Hag is because Ten Hag, when it has come to players, has never had that sort of factor even at Ajax, that if things have come down to the wire that it has ended up with the player redeeming himself. It hasn't happened up until now, but it doesn't mean that it needs to happen with Jadon Sancho as well. Maybe Jadon Sancho, might still be able to turn his career around at United, and by the end of the season he might become part of this team. It can still happen, but I think people are just, like JV mentioned as well, they're trying to pounce on the hottest thing that is available to them right now, and they're just trying to spin it around the way it can get more clicks and more views. But I think there still might be a future for Sancho right now, but it all depends on the manager. And till the time the manager comes out and says anything, everything is up for speculation.
I think it's interesting you mentioned the manager because there was a few bits, whether this is coming from him directly or just sources close to him. But Erik ten Hag set Sancho early roll calls in a bid to get him to turn up on time, but issues kept persisting. He had become increasingly exasperated with Jadon Sancho's punctuality and what he perceived as sluggishness in training. This also was not going unnoticed by his teammates, some of whom share the manager's sense of frustration. There were problems from the off with Jadon Sancho having been promised the number 7 shirt when he signed for Manchester United before the club reversed their decision once Cristiano Ronaldo joined at the end of the window. But performance-based, Chevy, taking it away from the media, have you watched him have a consistent run of games at United yet where you thought, there's the player from Dortmund? Or are you still waiting for that? Like I said to Shreyas on the show the other day, can you name 3 performances where he's really stood out in a game for us?
Are you asking me to name 3 or?
No, well, I'm just saying, can you think, because we obviously bought him for a lot of money. We bought him for the reasons, how good he was at Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah. So obviously,
have you seen that yet?
No, I don't think anyone has seen that. Well, I don't think we've seen what we bought from Dortmund. This is his 3rd season, but I've said this before. Like, I'm willing to write off not last season, the one before.
The Ragnick and
the first, the only one. Yeah, I'm willing to write that off because everybody was crap that year. So
yeah,
I'm not holding that against him. I'm only going off what I saw from last season. And from last season, yes, we did see glimpses. He's nowhere near the valuation that we paid for. That's a fact. Like, there's nobody can spin anything to tell you that he's such and such. But I still believe in the potential that he has, and I still believe that if used correctly, with the right players around him, I think we can get close to what we got at Dortmund. And as far as last season goes, I think the only almost consistent players were like the defenders and Marcus Rashford. Yeah. I don't think anyone else had 5 games in a row apart from like our defenders. Even when Casemiro was injured and came back, he wasn't consistent. Like, we did see a few dips here and there. So it might be a little bit unfair to be like, well, you haven't given us any, but he has, in terms of contributions, I can't think off the top of my head, but I know that he has given us some really good moments. In terms of goals, I think it was, obviously we know the Liverpool one and the Southampton and the Leicester ones. He got the winners there. I think it was the FA Cup against West Ham or Villa. There was a game where
Villa. It was Villa because I was at the game. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got the winner in that one. There were times where he has actually turned up clutch for us. But you know what's crazy about Sancho is even with all those performances, I've never seen him as involved in the game as I did in preseason in terms of how he connected with everyone else on the pitch. Like that's the first time I'm seeing, okay, we probably have something here that, that reminds us, there's that potential that I can see there. So I don't necessarily, look at all goals or assists. I know that those are important, yes, but then I can see how the skills and the qualities that a player has would be able to impact the team. And that's, I saw the work rate, I saw the sacrifice on the pitch. And it's similar to what Rooney used to do because we knew Rooney was like a striker. But when Nistelrooy was there, he would drop back or he'd play on the wing or he'd play in the midfield sort of thing. And we see Sancho, who's naturally a right winger, playing as a striker under Ten Hag and playing the false nine role, which probably he's not a big fan of. But, so to answer your question, no, definitely in terms of valuation, we haven't got that. I don't even think we're actually going to get it, to be honest. I think there's a ceiling. I think I'll be surprised if we get that version of Sancho. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Um,
Equally.
yeah, I'll be surprised if we ever get that. But we can definitely get something better than what we have seen last season and in preseason. I think we can get a consistent, sort of player.
Yeah, I want to read out a couple of comments, see what people are saying. 350k a week, and he does not bother to get to work in time. What a waste of talent. Also going to a club in New York to party after causing problems at United does not sit well with me at all. Sell. Very strong words from Jari Melman. Watching from Birmingham, England, says Vincent. Shah Sam says the real worry is how they got the information about Sancho. Well, that's United just leak, don't they?
Yeah.
Anything. You can't keep anything in-house.
Can I ask you something about about the lateness and stuff? Like, if we're made to believe that Ten Hag is this disciplinarian and he made Marcus Rashford sit out for missing 45 seconds, where was the punishment for Sancho?
What do you mean? Like
what? Yeah, I mean, if Rashford is coming late for meetings, it's 45 minutes late. He misses a game against Wolverhampton, or he doesn't start against Wolves. If Sancho is yeah, so if Sancho's coming late, like, I'm just asking you. I'm just saying, like, so,
no. I know. I was just going to say. I think the fact is Sancho doesn't really start, does he? Rashford last season.
Yeah, but what's the punishment? Starter. Yeah, but what's the punishment?
Well, that's what I mean. That it could have been in-house. It could have been a fine. It could have been I don't know what it was. But because Rashford was the most important player at the time, it was kind of like, right, drop your, you're not playing, and then you'll come on at half time. That was kind of how it was dealt with, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then they would have. Yeah, but then whoever is leaking the story should have some sort of should be able to tell us what the punishment was. It's not like he just came late and then nothing happened. What was what did Ten Hag do? So I don't believe these things all the way, to be honest. I'm not saying he's a saint, but I'm just saying the sources, this sources that, all of a sudden he falls out and then all of a sudden there's just stories about him. And somebody said in the chat about him going to New York. Wan-Bissaka went to New York. People travel. Like, you can't have a life again.
Rashford went to New York when England, because he had that ship with Southgate, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's opinions. I'm not saying anyone has a wrong opinion at all. It's all opinions, and people have the right. As a fan, you have the right to feel some way about a player. I'm just saying, be careful with what how you take information. That's all.
Yeah, as well, Shreyas, on the number 7 thing where he said he was pissed off about that. Yeah. I'm sorry, but if maybe this is speaking from a fan perspective, but if I was promised a number 7 shirt, but then Cristiano Ronaldo of all people came back to the club, I wouldn't be as pissed off. I'd be like, you know what, he's the greatest to ever do it, or one of the greatest to ever do it. He's a club legend. He's not going to be here forever. Maybe eventually I wouldn't really kick up a fuss about that. But that's not. I was just making that point. That's not something I want to kind of dive into too much. But on the punctuality and the timekeeping, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think he is that kind of player? Obviously, you can only kind of, it's guesswork in it, a lot of it. But do you think that is in it? Because I don't know, he seems, people have said he's a bit of a frosty character. Sometimes he can be very caring. It's a bit back and forth. I don't know what to think. I can't kind of circulate an opinion, if you will.
I think the fact about all of this is that with Sancho, you've heard these sort of things coming out, not just from United. during his time at Dortmund. You could hear it from the England, during his time with the England national team as well, because I think he was involved in the Euros. He was picked. He was picked for the tournament, but he only made 1 or 2 appearances throughout the competition because of the same reasons, that he turned up late for training, and all of these factors, that people felt that he wasn't giving his best or giving his 100% during training. So these factors have carried along with Jadon Sancho for quite some time. Now the point is with Ten Hag, like we know the kind of standards that he demands from his players, not just on the pitch but off the pitch as well, and the kind of discipline that he wants to maintain within this team as well. So I think with Jadon Sancho, the thing that now we have to look out for is first if he is going to be included in the remainder of the season. I still don't know whether he is going to be shipped off during January, or whether once again we'll be
Does he
seeing him.
start against Brighton?
I don't know. No,
Yes or no?
He's not starting against Brighton.
Wait, Civir,
And
does he start against Brighton?
They're asking if I would start him or if
No,
he
do you think
starts.
he will?
I think he will.
Oh, interesting. Go on, Shreyas.
yeah, because I just think that it will still take him time to actually reclaim his position. Not just in the eyes of Ten Hag, but the dressing room as well. Because I think right now the dressing room is actually, kind of agitated with the whole Jadon Sancho situation as well. So he has to, once again, maintain that sync with the manager, maintain that with the team, then fight with the likes of Anthony, with the likes of Alejandro Garnacho and Ahmad coming back as well. So there are going to be players around him who he needs to actually, fight for in order to get that position. So, and above all that, it also comes down to the fact whether, once again, what is going to be Jadon Sancho's future according to Ten Hag? Is he going to be a player who he actually relies on, or he doesn't? There are still a lot of questions actually surrounding it. But I think once we go through the Brighton game, and I think especially the Bayern game, after the Bayern game, I think we'll get a much better, position on what the future for Sancho is actually going to be at United.
I'm weighing up the pros and cons with this Sancho deal. First and foremost, a big price tag, £75 million, 350k a week. Hasn't done anything special on the pitch that I can remember, or at least done it on a consistent basis. Seems like he doesn't apply himself in training. Was granted a mid-season break by Ten Hag to address whatever it was, whether it was mental state or physical state. Came back, didn't really change much. And then when I watch him in game as well, he can barely play more than 60 minutes. It just seems like his fitness levels are dropped as well. So I don't have any expectation. I'm not holding my breath for Jadon Sancho. I don't expect him just to come to light. And like Chivy said, there's a ceiling there. I don't think you're going to get them 18 goals and 16 assists you got at Dortmund. And people talk about the fact that he had a number 9 in front of him, and he had wing backs who were bombing on, which aided the way he was playing. But I just don't see it. Really don't see it. I would happily be proved wrong, like many players at Manchester United, but I really don't see him getting back into this team on a regular basis, because he spent a lot of money on Antony. Ten Hag's always going to play Antony on that right-hand side, considering, unless anything else happens. Rashford, he's never going to draw Marcus Rashford, and Højlund you just signed for £70 million as well. So I don't see where he gets in. We tried him as a 10. Worked for 45 minutes, then it didn't work. Tried him as a false 9 in pre-season. Never wanted to do it in actual, this season. So I don't see what happens to him. I think the best thing that can happen at the minute is go to Saudi. But apparently Sancho didn't want to move to Saudi. So I don't know. I think
you sell him right now. You sell him Saudi.
Mate, if I got offered £60 million Jadon Sancho right now, I would take it 100%.
And what would you do what would you do while Anthony is out?
You've got Ahmad, you've got Palestra.
Ahmad isn't around. Ahmad is injured until the new year, isn't he? He's not back until January.
No, but you have Bruno Fernandes who can play on the right, who you said you like on the wing as well. Palestra can play there. Mm-hmm. You've got Garnacho, Rashford on the other side as well. That's fine. And then you've got Eriksen, Mount's coming back from injury now. You've got Højlund, you've got Martial there as well.
On the right?
Yeah, not Martial on the right. I'm just saying, as attacking options, you have two for the right who you can play there, Bruno Fernandes and Palestra.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is at the moment, we have a massive gap on the right wing. Anthony's going to be out for a long time. Ahmad is
he going to be out for a long time, though?
Anthony. Whilst this whole thing is going on, isn't that what we're meant to believe? I'm just saying
we're
that's
meant
what
to believe a lot of stuff at United, but from what I've seen and stuff that's come out, I don't think he's going to be out for a long time.
Oh, so he's So he's not out for a long time anymore.
I don't think so. Well, the initial thing was he's taken himself away from the club.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the
investigation
club
can be
said.
ongoing. But that
Yeah.
transcript that got released the other day was pretty revealing, wasn't it? Like the stuff that could come out about it. So maybe he'll be back sooner than usual. I don't know. That's the thing. But I wouldn't be too.
Right now, with all the things that have come out about Anthony, I'm seeing a timeline of maximum a couple of months at max, as to a solid decision to actually come out about it.
Unless, yeah, so these things have come out on social media, but however, how it affects the case is another thing entirely. So if we're just going to go by what the club said, I'm only thinking till December. I'm not even thinking January. We're mid-September now. If we're going to lose Anthony for at least 2 months, if Ahmad doesn't come back for another till the new year, we don't have a natural right winger at the moment except Jadon Sancho.
Lestre is a right winger.
Well, apart from, so you have Pelistri on the right wing, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I personally, at this moment in time, with the window closed, I wouldn't say.
Oh yeah, it's not going to happen now, is it? Because obviously all the windows are closed. It's not. That's just that kind of thing. I'm saying, if it's August and Saudi came in, which they was trying to get him in a thing, and we can use that money to go get someone else, I would take it in a heartbeat. Another question as well, out of the cameos that I've seen from Pelistri recently and Sancho, Pelistri's shown more, in my opinion. He really, really has. He beats a man, he gets the ball into the box. Sancho daddles on it a little bit, hasn't got the fitness levels, getting up and down that wing, doesn't necessarily keep his shape a lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh.
Well, it's opinions. Again, that's another thing. Like, you could see stuff in Pelistri and right now, and I don't think anyone can really tell. The only thing, what I personally don't like about this whole situation, I'm not like the biggest Jadon Sancho fan at all. Just to make it clear, you guys probably know that. What I really hate about this whole situation is just the way I hate it when the press just starts to pick at players or to try to form a narrative. There was a thing about him when they were taking preseason photos or something, and he didn't like the camera.
Yeah.
I identify with stuff like that. I don't like, always, being in the limelight, or if someone has a reserved nature, it's seen as a problem because he's not showing this so-called passion. Like, it really annoys me when people who are misunderstood are just painted in a certain picture. You don't really know this guy. You're just making up. You're writing things about him that will sound a certain way to appeal to a certain crowd, to form a narrative about a player. And it really, really annoys me when I hear that. So it's not like I'm his biggest fan or I think it's class. I just hate it when I see that happening to anyone.
Yeah.
And if this was happening to Lindelof, whoever, I would say exactly the same thing. It's not about just because it's Sancho or, if it was happening to, so.
You get media, Man United, you put them together, it's a headline, and
it's just,
all the time. And that transcript that I mentioned before, there was stuff in that the media was pushing these girls to do, the 3 alleged victims was pushing these girls to do an interview because I'm paying them a lot of money for it as well. So this is what I mean with the media. They can be very, very toxic with certain things. So I do not disagree with that for 1 second. All right, we spent 25 minutes on Sancho, so I do want to move on to the other topics because there's a few other things that I want to discuss. New sponsor. I don't know if any of you guys give a shit about it, but it does have certain significance moving forward with the Glazers, etc. So Manchester United signed deal to expand partnership with Qualcomm Technologies that will see Snapdragon become the next shirt sponsor. And I spoke to one of the people who first kind of reported this was Malikins on Twitter and Jane from Muppeteers. And I was chatting to him yesterday about it, and I was saying, is this significant in terms of Glazers maybe staying another year or so? Does it worry? And it was like, it is quite worrying, the fact that they've made this deal. And looking at the 2 sponsorship deals that they made so far, so you've got United sign a £900 million deal with Adidas, renewing the partnership for 10 years. Obviously, yearly income with that. And then United signed world record $60 million a year kit sponsor deal with Qualcomm as well. That's $150 million a year in sponsorship. Could you imagine if United was successful on the pitch as well, Shreyas? How much more we would be propelled and elevated?
It just means that, once again, if we had a board that was able to, make use of this money in a way that would provide the best backing to a manager. Like this is 150 million straight off the bat. Except that you can generate more cash because United it is never a problem for United to actually generate cash through merchandise sales or ticket sales because we are one of the most I would say globally recognized club on the face of the planet. So I just think that once again, uh, this thing might have big implications on the future of United. Uh, and once again, the amount of money and the way it is being mentioned as well, it just doesn't fill me with confidence about this whole takeover. Like whenever things like this actually start circulating around.
If you think about like Ineos, for example, I'm sure if they was going to take over, they would want that brand on the front of
Yeah,
United shirt. And the same with Qatar and Qatar Airways as well, right? They would probably want
exactly.
that on there. So does that have any significance? I don't know. I really, I don't know if this is
Because
something they would
that's
agree if
that's the
they're in
main
talk.
thing. That is the
You know,
main thing because if United, the thing is, the Glazers are not going into partnership with these companies. United are. Whenever
yeah,
anything or any contract gets signed, United are signing on it. So it means even if Glazers do leave the club, whoever is going to come in will have to, maintain that relationship and contract till the time of its maturity. So even if the Qataris do manage to come in, and for example, this deal with Qualcomm Snapdragon is for about 5 years. Then the Qataris
hmm
will also have to, respect that relationship for 5 years, and
exactly.
that's when probably you will be seeing Qatari Airways or those sort of things. So that is the major reason that that I think why are United going into these sort of deals when you're going into a massive takeover. Like someone else is going to be coming in. They would want to be putting on their brands like Qatar Airways or Ineos, whoever it is going to be. So why go into such long-term deals when you're having such a big thing as a takeover already looming around the club?
Yeah. There's certainly question marks there. Here's a question for each of you. Favorite sponsor that United's had going back 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whenever. What do you think's been the best looking kit sponsor?
Uh, has to be Sharp, innit?
Yeah, the retro one, the
It
old
has to be
school,
the Sharp one, yeah. But the Vodafone just brings memories, man.
like
The
Rude.
Nike with the phone, yeah, the one with the white thing here. It was like I had the Rooney and I had Jason Park and that. It just
Yeah.
brings memories of that's when we're balling. But AIG 2007.
This one right here.
I think you had it. You had it. Yeah, that one. That one. Is that the one with the stripe at the back?
Sharp as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ronaldo, Ballon d'Or, Champions League says everything you need to know. Shreyas, you're obviously half Chivy's age, so what's your favourite sponsor?
Personally, because I started to consistently watch them really late. My favorite was actually the AON ones. I personally
AON.
like.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Was
actually like that
that
one a lot.
2010-ish?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
2011,
So that was
2012,
yeah 09, 10,
Yeah.
and
Rooney.
yeah.
I remember Rooney on the front of FIFA 10
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
Ronaldinho, I
yeah.
think it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. I didn't mind that, to be fair. That was all right. I think the ones after that, the Chevrolet's got to be the worst one. That looked ugly as fuck, man. And the kits as well to match it were ugly as fuck as well. So, yeah, glad Chevrolet. And it just reminds me of Ed Woodward as well, that period of transfers that was just like absolutely shite. Anyway, away from sponsorship deals, I'm going to speak about Gareth Southgate because after the England game yesterday, which was pretty fucking entertaining, in fairness. Maguire obviously scores an own goal. The sky is blue. This shit kind of happens. But you know what? I do have to agree with Gareth Southgate on this, to be honest. He said in the media thing after it, the post-match press conference, he said there's been a ridiculous treatment of him, obviously meaning Maguire, for a long period of time. It's a joke. I've never known a player treated the way he is by our own pundits. It's beyond anything I've ever seen, which is pretty strong words. But I want to kind of caveat that with the fact that he doesn't help himself because he brings him on at half time. I don't get the sub.
Yeah,
That made no sense to me. Why take off? Did he take off Gay? Was it from Palace? It was actually a decent game.
Taking off Gay.
And then you put him on, and he makes a mistake. You put him in that position to do that. He didn't need to come on.
I'm so glad you said that because that's what I was actually going to raise that. Like you're trying to protect this guy by continually putting him in a position to fuck up. Like if you really like this guy, right? Leave him alone. just leave him.
Send him on
But yeah.
vacation for a couple of weeks. Let him.
Yeah, put
you
out
know.
a statement. Be like, I hate these pundits. You guys need to leave Harry Maguire alone. I'm gonna give him some time off, so he can get his mind up because of you guys. But then don't do that and then bring him in and then yeah, he doesn't help it. He doesn't help the situation either. I 100% agree with what's his name, Southgate about Maguire's treatment. I think
It
the
is
problem
bad.
now is,
Yeah.
mate, until one of these players commit suicide or harms themselves,
Yeah.
then people
literally.
start to realize how bad it is. Do you understand? Like it's so bad, and I really feel for the guy. Like I really, really feel for the guy. We've talked about it here before as well. Like nobody deserves that sort of abuse.
No.
But at the end of the day, we're fans. Like he needs to help himself as well. Like if it's really that bad, right? You need to just move away from the situation. Go to West Ham where you'll be highly appreciated or whatever it is. You had the opportunity to do that, and like you're receiving so much abuse at Manchester United, not just from rival fans, but from Man United fans as well. You're not liked here. You're not helping the situation as well. So when I see things like that, even though I feel bad for him, I'm like, you could have avoided all this. Now I saw another stat the other day saying the last 3 goals he scored were 2 for Sevilla, 1 for Scotland. Like, do you understand? Like you're making this. This is what you're doing to yourself. Like, So yeah, he shouldn't get that sort of abuse. I really feel bad for him, but mate, it's the end of the road. Just go, man. And save your career.
This is the issue in it, Shreyas, because this is going to be a reoccurring theme now for the full season. Because he's still at United, he's not had the chance to restart life at another club and take away all the pressure that is on his back. Because even though he's not the captain of Manchester United anymore, he's still a big figure, big name, big price tag, everything you want to, put with that. He's always this. Do you just see no other way out for him now? He just feels like he needs to go, and this will stop. Because the abuse, like the level, I saw a stat, I think it was last year or the year before, him and Cristiano Ronaldo, surprisingly
the most
enough, like
overhated players.
opposite ends, most hated players on social media ever. This one, I don't get what they think they get though from booing their own players. I've never understood that. I said that.
Yeah, because I think first off, that the player isn't performing that well. When he's coming on the pitch, he's already low on confidence because he hasn't really had that good, that great form. And when he does manage to come on, even if it's for like a 5 or 10 minute cameo, the fans, start booing him. It's not going to help their confidence. It is not going to get a positive response out of the player, especially when they walk onto the pitch. And if it is a rival stadium, like you go to Anfield, you hear the fans booing. It is still understandable as to why they're booing. When when he came on in Old Trafford, or when he came on during that friendly in Dublin as well, you could see people booing him off, and it isn't really going to help his case as well because, like Jay mentioned, he could have avoided all this. West Ham came in for an offer. They offered 31 million or 30 million pounds for him, and he could have easily gone there, gotten Europa League football, managed to play week in and week out for them as well on a consistent basis. So
he would have genuinely been appreciated there as well.
Yeah, he would have
really, really
absolutely.
But he didn't go. He stuck with Manchester United. It ended up hurting us in the transfer window as well because we couldn't get in another centre back. And his last 2 performances, one for England, he scored. Against Scotland, he got an own goal, and before that, he came on against Arsenal with Johnny Evans, and when they came on, we managed to concede 2 goals right off the bat. So it doesn't set off a good precedent for him. Even when international break ends and he comes back, and there's still no update about Varane as to when he will be back. There is still a big warning sign over Lisandro Martinez because he hasn't really been on the bench either for any of the games against Argentina. He has not been involved. He has not been viewed in any training picture as well. So it shows that there is an injury. As to how long it is and what is the severity of it, I think it is still being assessed. But if you're not seeing both of them, it just shows that our first choice pairing is currently out. You still got Victor Lindelof. He will definitely be back because you've seen with Sweden that he is involved, so that's a good sign. But except that, we've not got any other centre back than Maguire or Johnny Evans, and even Luke Shaw is not available right now. So it is a very, very bad situation to be in. because you cannot, go into games against Brighton or the game against Bayern Munich having Johnny Evans and Maguire as your starting centre backs.
No, and this thing with Southgate playing Jordan Henderson at the age of 33 and Maguire. Look, I backed him, and you guys know I backed him strongly at the tournament, the last tournament that we played, because I feel like the way he was going and the type of football he played, sometimes you need to play that style of football to get through in tournaments that are slightly pragmatic. But sticking by these decisions and playing the amount of talent that England have in their team, you cannot keep playing Maguire when he's not being selected, and Jordan Henderson.
I have a big question about all this. Is one, why is Maddison not being involved in this England national team? He has been by far one of the better players in the Premier League this season for Spurs. He's come in, he's hit the ground running, he's been getting goals, he's been getting assists, and still you don't see him involved altogether in this England national team.
I think on form right now, Maddison's probably the best 10 in the league.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't think anyone's been better.
But to answer your question, Shreyas, this is his biggest criticism, is that this man has shown everyone that he doesn't have any ingenuity. Like he has one game plan, he's sticking to it. The same players he uses every fucking time. It doesn't matter what you're doing anywhere else, right? It's just the same guys. It's Henderson, it's this, it's that. He doesn't change, and this is the biggest. This is if he carries on playing with the way he, the style of play that has actually helped him in all these tournaments, right? But then just have, fresher personnel to come in and play for him. So, for example, this whole a big thing was when he chose Maguire over Tomori, who was literally the best central defender in Italy. Like Italian fans couldn't believe what's going on.
Yeah,
and he just chose to stick by this guy. So it's like, he's not showing any signs of,
progressive.
of this nothing. Yeah, there's no progression there. Like, you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, and that's never going to happen. And it just shows me that he's not ready to just move with it. I think he's taking England as far as they can go, and I think that we need a new coach with more ideas who can change, who can get the best out of players. Because you have Maddison, you have Jude Bellingham running, going crazy.
Bellingham, by the way,
Best
he
player
is
right now.
fucking.
Yeah, I mean, he's
unreal.
on form. He's on form. Like, he's on really good form now. Maddison's on really good form. It's really good for the momentum. You've got Phil Foden. You've got players coming up.
Talent level is
talent level is crazy, and it's not like
even in the defense, the talent that is available to England right now is better than most of the countries out there.
Exactly, and it's not like the mid 2000s where you had like Lampard and individual players. These are players that can actually sync, that actually like each other.
Yeah,
and you can't even do anything with this. Come on, man.
I think there's a lot of similarities there between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I really, really do, because one big criticism with Ole was he never changed it in game. He never made a substitution. Southgate's the exact same. Doesn't change it much. He doesn't. He's very risk averse. The football's very cautious. It's back to front, sideways, back to front. If there's an opportunity, maybe go for it, maybe not. And you're watching it, you're like, these players need them shackles released off him. Like Bellingham, watching when that guy goes, mate. You can blow teams away with the players they've got. Foden yesterday, some of the touches he was making, I was like, he is unbelievable. What a talent. You've got Rashford on there, who's linking up with Bellingham. Harry Kane's still one of the greatest strikers on the planet right now.
And
Declan Rice just over 100 million. Saka weren't even on the pitch. Maddison weren't even on the pitch. Like, these players are getting most teams. So there's definitely a question mark now. But with the Euros coming up, I just don't. They won't get rid until after. If he has a bad tournament or if he gets to a final again, they'll probably keep him.
Yeah, I think his doesn't his contract kind of run up until the Euros, So what they would never sack him. I think what they would do is they just won't renew it when it runs out after the Euros.
Yeah.
That's
Southgate down. Southgate down.
Ole Gunnar Southgate.
Ole Gunnar Southgate. Yeah, I like that. That's very nice. Both reaching semi-finals and finals as well, ironically, and losing equally. So a lot of comparisons to be made. Right, Chewie's favourite topic, the takeover. Mike Keegan has been reporting it, saying the latest is that we're approaching a year since the announcement and we still don't have a conclusion. I checked in this morning with those close to the process on all sides who say it remains ongoing. One source described the Glazers as very patient people That's one word. Stubborn could be used as another word to describe him. And then we had Malikans as well, who's very good on Twitter, saying the Glazers are trying to convince Ineos to not just let them stay, but to have voting rights on the board. Ineos have talked about walking away if they insist on this. Ineos, Rain, and the Glazers have had talks over the last couple of weeks. Where's your head at with this, lads? Still, don't give a bollocks. Don't care what happens. Just when it happens, just tell us. Is that where your head's at?
I've got the takeover from Jay-Z playing in my head. Boom, 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 boom. Takeover.
But that is interesting. That thing about the Glazer thing, isn't it? Trying to get Ineos to let them have voting rights as well. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, here's the problem is because we've had so many conflicting reports on I think if we had the spreadsheet, we'll probably have up to like 50 different
transfers, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really, really difficult to actually. It's hard for me to be really invested in this thing now because I don't know what's real and what's not. I really can't tell because we hear this story and then next week another story comes out and then it's hard to really understand, to know what's credible, what's not. I mean, if as far as we are aware, up until like a month ago or like 2 months ago, the last real contender in this whole thing was Qatar. Like Ineos have all but given up. And then all of a sudden now it's like, well, they're back in it and they're having conversations. I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest. I would have to process that first before, because I really don't know what to make of it.
Can you be in this bidding war for, like, realistic? Like, when does it get to a point where the NDAs run out, or like just I don't, because surely you can't just keep doing this for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
It's not a sustainable thing to actually, for them to actually keep dragging it on. And there was an Asian financial outlet which was actually reporting that for the Glazers to actually continue with full and absolute control, they, even if they go for minority investment, they need at least 3.5 billion pounds off the bat. They need it like straight handed. That 3.5 billion pounds are there and they need to invest it straight away. And no minority investment is foolish enough to actually provide the Glazers with that sort of money with no control or with no strings attached. And that's never going to happen. A takeover is something that will happen. The thing with Ineos is, we know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a good businessman, and no, if you look at it from a business perspective, no good businessman would want to take over something and still have voting rights in the in the hands of the previous owners. No one would want that, and that is the reason I think that the max that Ineos can do is that gradually they just buy off the shares of them as well, and then gradually in a couple of years or in 3 years time they take up absolute control. I think the reason Ineos is being right now explored by the Glazers is because they are evaluating how much they can actually recover from, if they still continue with Ineos, how much they can actually recoup at the end of that time, like after 3 years or 4 years. Will that evaluation come up to 7 billion if they go with Ineos, or will, if they stick with Qataris and they're handing them like 5 or 5.5 billion pounds right now, is that the max that they can recover, and is it more than what they can get from under Sir Jim Ratcliffe? That is the reason there is this this big hold up. Once and the reason why the hold up is still there as well is because Qataris won't bid again, because they know their bid is much better in comparison to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. The only way Sir Jim Ratcliffe can win now is once again because that
improving the bid.
He improves the bid and gives them voting rights as well, which won't really be happening.
Yeah, I think much like the Sancho transfer, because do you remember when we signed transfer after the 2 years or whatever it was, and we were just like, no one was really arsed because they dragged the fun out of it. I think when this takeover gets announced, it's not going to hit nowhere near as much as it would have done if it had happened within the first 6 months. So I'm equally, I'm getting to that point now where it's like, I think everyone's just being played against each other in order to drive the price up. Like, they could just be doing this with Ineos now. So Qatar go, hold on a minute, what's going on there? We're like, oh yeah, we're sorting out a little deal there. And Qatar like, right, okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, it's competition in it, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we move on another day where the takeover issue is still the exact same. We've not really moved on at all, have we? As fans. So great. fantastic. Can't wait for the next drama that comes out of Manchester United so we can discuss it, because something's going to happen within the next 6 days, 7 days.
Can we place a bet? Can we place a bet on what we think is going to happen? Like
well,
something random.
You've got the ongoing Anthony situation, of course. Something could pop off about that. Something could come out. I saw Chris Wheeler on Stretford Paddock today saying that, maybe there's a 10% chance they'll bring Mason Greenwood back from Getafe if he has a good season. I've seen a few other little bits as well. It's going to be something. It's just, I don't know what, but there will be something in the next 48 hours. There'll be something significant that's dramatic about Manchester United. 100%. The way this summer's gone and the way the season started, it's just, we can't stay away from negativity at the minute. I don't know what it is.
I think
we
it
really,
will be
really
after
can't.
the Bayern game that everything just starts going haywire. But I think after the Bayern game, there's something will happen that will just circle every single thing around the club.
When is the Bayern game? Is that next week?
Yeah.
This time next week, isn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
7
it's
o'clock.
Wednesday. All right. Okay. I can't say anything past Saturday at the moment. Like.
Yeah, we've got Brighton on 3 o'clock. That's gonna be a tough game, man.
Away, yeah.
Brighton's at home.
Is it home?
Bayern Munich. Yeah, Brighton's at home.
And Brighton is at home.
Yeah, Bayern Munich's away. So, but Brighton were the only team to beat us last season at home. So it doesn't bode well for us at all, does it? It's gonna be a tough game, very, very tough game. But hopefully Amrabat's in there, Højlund starts, and a couple of others as well, and I might be a bit more confident. But we'll do that on Friday for the preview, the Brighton preview. Then you'll have Erik ten Hag press conference as well. Oh yeah, just reminded me. I did a video, or a pre-recorded video, dropped it at 12 o'clock today about the Glazers and their 18 years of neglect, and it's a long timeline about from when they first taken over, how much they've taken out of the club, and all the bad incidents that's happened along the way. So a lot of work went into that. If you want to check that out and you haven't seen it already, it's on the channel. Like I said, dropped at 12 o'clock, so appreciate if you leave any feedback, leave a like on the video as well, and subscribe if you can. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Thank you to Civir and Shreyas taking time out of the day to join me. And yeah, unless you have any final comments, lads, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah, just
all good.
Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure to smash that subscribe button.
Yeah, check out Shreyas OnlyFans as well. Link is in the description.
If you like it, like an Indian boy with smooth skin, check it out. In a bit.
Yeah.
In a bit, lads.
We want Blaze House and we want Blaze Out. We want Blaze House and we want